don't understand what the eczema has to do with you masturbating in front of a 15-year-old girl. And the other problem that I'm going to have you address is that this isn't the first time.
A repeated offender, a teenage victim, and an excuse so bizarre the judge can't even believe his ears. Today we are in an Ohio courtroom for the sentencing of Stefan Scott, a man who has turned public indecency into a career. He's been caught 4 times, but his latest excuse involves a medical condition that he claims forced him into a act. Is he a man seeking genuine redemption through faith, or is he a master manipulator playing the system? Stick around, because when the judge reads the secret statement Stefan tried to hide, the entire room goes cold. This is accountability in its rawest form.
Case number 25CR43041, the state of Ohio versus Stefan Scott. Mr. Scott is before the court with his counsel, Mr. Ernst. Ms. Nicholson, on behalf of the state of Ohio, we're here for sentencing. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the pre-sentence investigation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Nicholson, anything on behalf of the state?
Your Honor, first, the victim's mother is present, and she would like to address the court. I'll let her go first.
Your Honor, the man being sentenced today has committed this crime multiple times. This is not a one-time mistake. It was a repeated, deliberate act. Even while facing charges in this case, he committed the same type of offense again. That shows a clear pattern and a refusal to change his behavior. What he did to my daughter has had lasting effects. She was simply doing her job when she was sexually violated. Since that day, she has experienced anxiety about going to work. She has had nightmares. Her sense of safety was taken from her in a place where she should have felt secure, especially as a teenager. No one should have to fear being sexually exposed to while working. No family should have to watch their child struggle with anxiety because someone chose to repeatedly act in a sexually aggressive and unlawful way. We are deeply concerned that without serious consequences, this behavior will continue and may escalate. His history shows that lighter consequences have not stopped him. We respectfully ask the court to sentence him to the fullest extent allowed by the law. Accountability is necessary not only for my daughter, but to protect other women in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
The raw pain in that mother's voice is undeniable. Her daughter wasn't just a victim of a crime. She was a teenager robbed of her sense of safety while simply trying to work. But here is where the legal stakes get incredibly high. The prosecution is revealing a terrifying pattern. Stefan Scott didn't just make a mistake. He's a serial offender. He was actually caught committing the exact same crime just days after being arraigned for this one. That is a level of defiance that judges rarely forgive. It shows a total disregard for the law and the community. As we move forward, notice how the prosecution highlights his lack of accountability in the pre-sentence investigation. He isn't just a repeat offender. He's someone who refuses to admit he has a problem.
The state agrees that this is a continued pattern of conduct that has not been altered by previous consequences. He has convictions in May of 2019, May of 2023. He had the offense, which is now a conviction, in November of 2025 in Lebanon Municipal Court that occurred days after being arraigned, in this case, in the lower court, where he was given no bond and was walked in on the warrant. A bond was not set, and days later he committed the offense that was charged out of Lebanon Municipal Court. His record shows that he had been off probation just over 2 weeks out of the Brown County case when he committed this offense. I think the statements made in the pre-sentence investigation show a complete lack of accountability on his part, taking responsibility for his conduct. And based on all of that, the state would be asking for the maximum period of incarceration. The court is not required to impose community control in this case, and I believe the defendant's history shows that he is not amenable or appropriate for community control. Additionally, if the court were to find that community control is appropriate, we would ask that he have a no contact so that the victim can go to work and have some peace of mind. Additionally, in further looking at the jail time credit, I believe he is entitled to 4 days of jail time credit in this case. He walked in on the warrant and was given no bond no bond was set in the Warren County Court, and he was never taken into custody. He was arrested on November 2nd for the Lebanon Municipal Court case. At his arraignment on November 21st in the Common Pleas Court after indictment, he was issued a cash bond out of this case, which he then posted and was released on monitor on November 25th. And so he was not held on any bond related to this incident until November 21st.
Now we see the classic defense pivot. Mr. Ernst is trying to paint a picture of a man transformed. He's mentioning employment, child support, and a newfound commitment to the church. From a legal perspective, the defense is trying to humanize the defendant to avoid the maximum prison sentence. They want the judge to see a father and a worker, not a predator. But will 4 months of missing his son and a sudden interest in counseling be enough to outweigh a decade-long pattern of sexual aggression? This is a high-stakes gamble. The defense is essentially asking for community control, basically probation, instead of prison. Pay close attention to Stefan's body language as his lawyer speaks for him.
2025.
All right, thank you. Anything from probation?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Ernst?
So I've been in pretty constant contact with Stefan since this happened. He did do jail time, whether there's credit or wherever it happened. It did create within him a change, Your Honor, and it's kind of as follows. If you recall in this case, we did ask to modify his release to allow him to go to work. He is employed at PAX here in town, and he got with child support. He has a 7-year-old son that he's current on child support. They have worked with him to allow him to become employed, and he's current there. Some things that adversely affected him during this time, and particularly during the time he was incarcerated. Up till now, he's not been able to see his 7-year-old son, and his mother of his child is not against him. She's not filed anything. He has been without now for 4 months. The ability to participate in the sports that he was doing before this happened, as he's able to with Faith Building Church here up by the Y. He's really stressed to me a need to further that with being able to go to church to develop the community. He's researched these things. Throughout this event and what's happened here, there has been a change that he has stressed repeatedly. He will engage in counseling. Those 4 things, I think, are something that's different than what's happened to him before, where he has made a decision in his mind that he needs to address this and will follow any recommendations you make. This has had a deprivation of his ability to help raise his son. That hurts. We respect everything that's been said to you today. I believe he supports me in what I just told you. Is that right, Stefan?
Mr. Scott, is there anything you'd like to say before I pronounce sentence?
I just would like to say I'm sorry. I've been trying to change. I haven't been able to go back to church, and I think that I just been every night I think about this. It's always on my mind. I know the pain that I caused. I just want to make it right. And I'm so sorry.
Court has considered anything else? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I don't want to continue to live a life of sin. I'm better than that. I know I am. I haven't seen my son in 4 months, but the consequences of my actions. I just want to make things right and be there for my son. And I just don't want to let any more people down.
This is the turning point of the entire hearing. The judge isn't buying the tears. He's forcing Stefan to reconcile his current apology with the written statement he gave earlier. In sentencing, consistency is everything. If you tell the court services one thing and the judge another, you lose all credibility. The judge uses a brilliant analogy here, comparing Stefan to a drunk driver. The logic is simple. If you've been caught 4 times, how many dozens of times did you get away with it? This is a devastating blow to the defense's changed man narrative. The judge is digging deep into the psychology of the offender, refusing to let him hide behind a scripted apology. Now, get ready for the excuse that leaves everyone speechless.
Court has considered the statements made here today, the pre-sentence investigation, the purposes and the principles of sentencing, the relevance, seriousness, and recidivism factors. Mr. Scott, I read the statement that you gave during your pre-sentence investigation. Do you want to explain that to me?
I'm sorry, sir.
The written statement that you provided to court services during your pre-sentence investigation. I want you to reconcile that, what you said in that statement to me, to what you're saying now.
Yes, sir. I have a bad case of eczema. I'm not blaming it on eczema. It was my actions. I took the food and I immediately left. I was embarrassed. My face was plastered all over Facebook and Instagram.
Again, I don't understand what the eczema has to do with you in front of a 15-year-old girl.
Your Honor,
And the other problem that I'm going to have you address is that this isn't the first time. This is the fourth time that you've been caught. I just wonder how many times that you've done it and the person was too embarrassed to even come forward to acknowledge that this happened to them. Putting these young girls, exposing yourself, not just exposing yourself, literally masturbating in front of a young lady that's working, for crying out loud. Reconcile that for the person that you claim to be now standing before me. You need to reconcile that to me because right now my mind's going, well, this is the fourth time you've been caught. I'm guessing you've done it. People that drive drunk and get caught. And that's not the first time they did it. It's the first time they get caught. People stealing. It's never, you don't get caught every time you do something. So you try to reconcile with what the person that you're trying to represent to me today, reconcile that with the person.
And there it is, the moment that defines this case. Stefan Scott actually tries to blame a SEUAL act on eczema. The judge's reaction says it all. That's pretty hard to believe. Legally, Stefan is trying to use a medical distraction to downplay the SEUAL nature of the crime, but the judge sees right through it. Seeing his medical excuse fail, Stefan immediately pivots to a divine wake-up call. He's claiming that jail was a calling from God and that he's now a prayer leader. While faith-based rehabilitation is real, judges often view jailhouse conversions with extreme skepticism when they happen right before sentencing. What do you think? Is Stefan genuinely finding God, or is he just desperate to stay out of a prison cell? Let us know in the comments.
That is in this report.
I'm trying to understand, like, what are you trying to?
Well, you're trying to represent yourself that, that, hey, it's a wake-up call for me.
Okay, I understand.
I got the message, Judge. This will never happen again. It really wasn't a sexual thing. It was eczema that caused me to scratch myself to the point where I ejaculate. That's pretty hard to believe.
No, sir, I understand what you're saying, sir.
Okay, now I'm going to give you one last opportunity.
Yes, sir. When I was locked up, I don't go to jail like that. I don't go to jail at all. When I got locked up for those 24 days, I've seen so many things. I was already a believer, but when I went into jail, the people that surrounded me with, the people that I've seen in church, the famous people that came and talked to us, gave me cards and little things that I could take with me on the outside to keep it together when I'm on the outside. So while I was in there, I formed prayer groups every night. It took a while to do that, but I feel like that was a calling. I feel like that the Lord put me in there to wake me up. That was my wake-up call. He was with me the entire time I was in there. People around me even felt it, and I was trying to, everything we did after we ate or before we ate, before we went to bed, we prayed. I'm focused on God. My wake-up call is God. Lord, I don't want to live a life of sin anymore, going down a path of nowhere. I know I'm better than that. I know what my calling is. I feel His presence, and this isn't. I've always been a believer, but I feel like He's put me in that position to where I could only turn to Him.
Have you ever undergone any type of counseling?
When I was in school as a kid with ADHD, but that's about it. I was talking to a therapist in probation, not a therapist, but the woman who does the packet with me. She's told me about people and solutions that I said I was interested in, because she recommended me to do counseling, and I thought that was a good idea.
And you've engaged in that counseling?
I'm sorry. Yes, online, yes, but I didn't have a job because I didn't have work release, so I'd have to pay for it. But I did do 4 classes online. I talked to people at Talbot House. They said they're willing to take me after my situation.
This has been now almost 6 years since your first conviction. You had one in 2019, one in 2023, and then one since this case started. You yet got another conviction for the same type of behavior. Why wasn't counseling something that you sought? If you know you have a mental health problem, again, whether that's it is a recognized under the DSM-5 mental health disorder, but why wasn't counseling sought earlier?
I've never had anybody to talk to. When I talked to probation, the woman who talked to me put me in the right direction. I never thought it was something that I needed till I heard it from her. And the things that we talked about the police and how, things in my past, she said, I think you need counseling because this is a recurring thing. And I realize now that I'm at home, I can't walk around without looking out the window. She explained to me these things are not normal. Me, growing up, I always thought it was normal in the environment that I grew up in. Realizing what she has told me, I feel like
You thought this was normal behavior?
no, when I like the things that we talked about, like when I walk around in my house, I have to peek out the window or do things that normal people don't do. And she said that is a cause from certain past trauma. And once she started explaining that to me, I agreed that I do need therapy. I never considered it until we went and dug in my past, is what I was trying to say.
You get health insurance now?
I do with my job, yes.
That's one of the things we talked about, was getting his insurance reestablished through this company to then get those things set up and have the funds to pay those.
All right.
Your Honor, I would just, in brief response, I would just note that the Talbert House assessment was completed January 15th of 2026, and the statement he made as a part of his PSI was January 10th of 2026, which were 6 weeks or more after his incarceration, and that don't reference anything that he's talking about here today before.
The assessment was separate. I called for the information that she gave me to Talbot House. I never did an assessment. I called.
Oh, you did an assessment?
I did do an assessment, yes, sir, but that was before I had a meeting with her. She basically gave me, hey, you should go over there and talk to this person at this place and get therapy from this person. That's basically what I was saying.
And you did that?
I called, yes, but I can't do anything while I'm on house arrest or during this case.
Who told you that?
I can only leave for court privileges and work.
Well, that's not certainly not true. If all you had to do was call community corrections and say, hey, I've got a counseling appointment, can I go? And they would say, Mr. Henry, what would they say?
They would say, as soon as you get this verification, you're good to go.
Yeah, that's all it takes is a phone call. Yeah, that's simply not true. Yeah, Mr. Scott.
The hammer is about to drop. The judge has heard enough. He points out the ultimate contradiction. If Stefan really wanted help, he could have made a simple phone call to get counseling privileges. The "I couldn't leave my house" excuse was just another lie. This is a massive lesson in courtroom etiquette. Never lie to a judge who knows the rules better than you do. The judge is making a formal finding. Stefan Scott is not amenable to community control. In other words, he has proven that he cannot be trusted in the public. The focus now shifts from rehabilitation to punishment and deterrence. Prison is no longer a possibility. It's an absolute certainty.
There's nothing that you have said today that convinces me, and again, whether this, I'm not going to get into a discussion as to whether this is a mental health disorder or not. The DSM certainly recognizes it as such, but I don't think you've gotten the message. I mean, you, and again, my mind keeps going back to, and again, the two prior convictions and then getting a conviction while this case was pending. I cannot imagine for the life of me, knowing that you're under indictment on a felony charge for this offense, going out and doing the same thing. I mean, that just completely blows my mind. I'm going to make a finding today, sir, based upon the information I have, that you are not amenable to community control and that prison is now necessary to fulfill the purposes and principles of sentencing, primarily punishment and deterrence. So if you think the 24 days in jail for the Lebanon Municipal Court case got your attention, I think I'm going to get it now. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to order you to serve 10 months in prison The reason I'm not ordering you to serve 12 months, the maximum, is because you did enter a plea and did not make this young lady go through the trauma of having to relive that whole thing in front of 12 strangers. So you're going to serve 10 months in prison. You get credit for the 4 days you served on this case. Even though you served 24 days in jail, the 20 of those days are going to be credited to your Lebanon Municipal Court case. Now, the court does make a finding that the prison is necessary based upon the extensive prior history of this particular offense. Obviously, you haven't responded to any type of sanctions that the court has imposed previously, and that you just continue to engage in the same type of behavior. So that will be the court's finding. You're also subject to a discretionary period of post-release control, which means on your release from prison, the adult parole authority may supervise you for up to 2 years. If you violate those terms of supervision, the adult parole authority can return you to prison for up to 1/2 of this court's original sentence. If your violation is that you commit another felony, you can be returned to prison for 1 year or the period that you have left on post-release control, whichever is longer, and that time would run consecutive to any additional prison time that you get sentenced to. The court does find that you are indigent for the purpose of any fines, costs, or other financial sanctions. Now, there may be opportunities for you to receive up to 1 day per month for participating in any programs that are sponsored by the Department of Corrections. Finally, you have a right to appeal the court's decision if you're sentenced to the 12th District Court of Appeals. If you want to appeal, you must file your notice of appeal within 30 days of today's date. If you can't afford to pay for the transcript or anything necessary for your appeal, that can all be provided to you at no cost. If you cannot afford an attorney, I will provide, or the court will provide one to you at no cost. Ms. Nicholson, is there anything else?
You waived the fines and costs?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Mr. Ernst?
No, Your Honor.
All right, this time, Mr. Scott, your bond is revoked. You are now remanded into the custody of the Warren County Sheriff's Office for transport to the Department of Corrections. This time, there's a couple of deputies standing behind you. They're going to take you into custody. That's all.
Stefan Scott's attempt to excuse his behavior with medical issues and a sudden religious awakening fell flat. The judge sentenced him to 10 months in prison, specifically citing his repeated history and the fact that he committed a new crime while this case was pending. While he received a small discount for pleading guilty and sparing the victim a trial, the message was clear: the community must be protected from habitual offenders. This case highlights the tension between mental health disorders and criminal accountability. Stefan will now have 10 months to reflect on his actions behind bars. If you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts on the judge's decision in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.